Okay folks, buckle up. This is a new Monday night extra, a shorter, more raw mystery. No music, no sound effects, no pictures and no animations, just the story. And my Friday night videos will continue as always. This is just an extra bonus. If people like it, I'll continue. If not, then I'll adapt. So let's get into it. 5 men vanish in the pines. It's late February 1978. 5 friends pile into a turquoise Mercury Montego after a basketball game in Chico, California. They're laughing, trading sacks, talking about their own upcoming tournament. Just another drive home through the Sierra foothills. Hours later, that same car is found abandoned on a snowy mountain road. Doors unlocked, keys missing. No footprints leading away. It's like they just disappeared. Weeks turn into months. When the thaw finally comes, searchers start to find them, scattered across 20 miles of wilderness. One inside a trailer, surrounded by food he never ate. Another curled beneath a tree, shoes missing. Everything about it feels off. It's too neat, too deliberate. 5 men leave a basketball game and vanish into the cold. What happened next still doesn't make any sense. The night everything went wrong. The Yuba County 5, Bill Sterling, Jack Huett, Ted Weiher, Jack Madruga and Gary Mathias, weren't adventurers. They were homebodies, bonded by friendship and routine. The kind of guys who'd rather watch a game than wander into the woods. And that night, February the 24th, 1978, they drove to Chico State for a basketball game. Afterwards, they stopped for snacks, milk, candy, pies, and hit the road home. The families said they were excited, focused, and cautious. These weren't risk-takers. The next morning, their turquoise Mercury was found halfway up a mountain logging road in the Plumas National Forest, 40 miles from their route home. And here's where things get strange. The car wasn't stuck. Tyres fine, half a tank of gas, doors unlocked. They could have driven out easily. Instead, they left it behind, in sneakers, in freezing temperatures. It's one of those details that makes you stop and go, what were they thinking? Especially since Ted hated the cold. He'd once gotten frostbite from fetching the mail, so why abandon safety for a death march into the snow? Maybe they got lost. Maybe they were scared, or maybe, and this is the unnerving part, they thought the danger was behind them, not ahead. And that's the moment everything changed. The search and the silence. The search started the next morning, and right away, rescuers realized something was wrong. The men had vanished without a trace. Helicopters scoured the Sierra Nevada foothills. Police dogs tracked nothing, and volunteers trudged through waist-deep snow looking for any sign of life. For weeks, the mountain stayed silent, like it was keeping a secret. Then came spring. The snow melted, and the forest began to give up what it had been hiding. First, a hiker found Jack Madruga's car keys. Then, the remains of 3 of the men, scattered, miles from the road. It looked as if they tried to walk out and failed. But the strangest discovery came 20 miles from the car. A deserted Forest Service trailer, half buried in snow. Inside was Ted Weiher. He hadn't died right away. His beard had grown, suggesting weeks of survival. There were cans of food, matches, even fuel for the heater. But Ted had starved and frozen to death. And get this, the food was still sealed, blankets folded, lights unlit. It's like he was waiting for someone to return. Even stranger, his body was carefully wrapped in sheets, as if someone had tucked him in. Whoever did that cared enough to try to protect him, but not enough to stay alive themselves. You have to imagine the scene. Quiet, claustrophobic, one man dying slowly while the others vanish into the dark. It's haunting. Maybe they panicked, maybe they got separated, or maybe something happened out there, something that made them fear the cold less than whatever was waiting in the trees, the stranger among them. If there's a center to this mystery, it's a single name that everything seems to orbit: Gary Mathias. Gary was the outlier of the group, a US Army veteran, bright and funny, but struggling with schizophrenia. By 1978, he was managing it well, living with his parents, taking his medication, playing basketball with his friends. They called themselves the Buddies 5. But in this story, Gary becomes a ghost, the one man who never came home and never turned up. His shoes were found in the trailer where Ted died, but Gary wasn't there. Investigators believe he swapped shoes with Ted at some point. Gary's boots were better for walking through snow. That small practical detail makes it feel like he was thinking clearly, which is maybe the creepiest part. Someone was making decisions out there. Police thought Gary might have had a psychotic episode that led the group into the mountains. Maybe he got confused, panicked, and the others followed. But that theory never sat right. These guys weren't careless. They trusted Gary. If he said this way, they'd go. And then there's the other side of the coin. What if he wasn't the cause of the chaos, but the survivor? Gary has never been found. No remains, no trace, just gone. And locals swear they saw lights in the sky that night. Others say a pickup truck followed the men after the game. Whatever happened, it's like Gary walked off the map and took the truth with him. And maybe he's the key, the only one who knew why they left the car, why they walked 19 miles uphill in sneakers, and why they never made it home. And if he was alive for a while after that night, maybe he's still out there, somewhere, watching the snow fall. Theories and a thin line of logic. When investigators ran out of clues, they turned to theories, and that's when things got even stranger. The simplest explanation? Gary Mathias had a psychotic episode. Maybe he got confused, thought they were in danger, and led his friends into the wilderness. It sounds possible until you realise the others weren't likely to follow him blindly. These men weren't thrill seekers. They were cautious, predictable. They liked routines, not detours through blizzards. So, why did they go? Why hike 19 miles uphill in sneakers through waist-deep snow? It's not just irrational, it's impossible. Then there's the chased theory. Some say a car, maybe a pickup, followed them after the basketball game. Imagine it, 5 friends laughing one minute, headlights behind them the next, and suddenly they're veering off into the dark, thinking they're escaping danger. It makes sense right up until you remember there's no evidence of another vehicle. Not a single footprint, tyre track, nothing. Others point to hypothermia, the confusion, the paradoxical undressing, that frantic disorientation when your brain starts shutting down. But again, Ted had food, blankets, matches. He could have survived. Instead, he starved beside stocked shelves. It's like something took logic off the table, as if the moment they left that car, the rules changed. And that's the hardest part to accept, because when logic fails, we start reaching for things that don't fit in the police report. Sometimes the simplest answers aren't satisfying, and this story, it refuses to be solved. The parallels to Dyatlov Pass. If the Yuba County 5 feels familiar, that's because we've seen this story before, just with snow-covered mountains and Russian names. The Dyatlov Pass incident, 1959. 9 hikers vanish in the Urals. Torn tents, barefoot footprints, frozen bodies scattered across the landscape. And the similarities are uncanny. Both groups left safety behind in the middle of the night. Both were found miles from their camps. Both showed signs of survival, but zero signs of logic. In Dyatlov, they fled their tent, half-dressed into a blizzard. In Yuba, they climbed a mountain in sneakers. You start to wonder if there's some invisible thread that connects these two tragedies, not physically, but psychologically. That moment when fear flips a switch and reason just dissolves. Some people call it panic. Others call it primal instinct. But there's something about isolation, cold, and the dark that makes the human mind short-circuit. And yet, there's one eerie difference. The Dyatlov group faced nature's raw brutality. The Yuba men were closer to civilization. Roads, cabins, power lines. They weren't lost in endless wilderness. They were just far enough from help that the world couldn't find them in time. In that in-between space, not far from home, but too far to make it back, that makes both stories so haunting. And maybe that's why locals call it America's Dyatlov Pass. Not because of some shared conspiracy or supernatural twist, but because, like Dyatlov, it's a mirror reflecting how fragile we really are when the familiar turns strange. 5 men vanished in a place where they should have been safe. And 45 years later, the mountain still hasn't told anyone why. The frozen trail. The story of the Yuba County 5 doesn't end with answers. It ends with silence. The kind that hangs in the air after a question no one can quite finish asking. 5 friends drive into the night, full of laughter and life, and somehow end up walking 19 miles into freezing wilderness, to die within reach of warmth and food. It's a tragedy wrapped in contradictions, human enough to feel familiar, mysterious enough to keep you up at night. Now, some people think it was fear, a wrong turn, panic in the dark, one bad decision that snowballed into disaster. Others say there was something more, that feeling of being watched, chased, or just drawn somewhere. And maybe that's the truth. Maybe the forest doesn't take lives. Maybe it just reflects what we bring into it. A confusion, fear, trusting the wrong person, or maybe just bad luck at the worst possible moment. You can still drive that road today. See where the snow once buried the trail, where search teams combed through silence. And I'll be honest, knowing what happened there, you can almost feel it, that stillness, that weight. It's the same feeling you get when your headlights catch the trees just right, and for a second you think you see something move. Maybe the Yuba County Five weren't victims of madness or monsters. Maybe they were just caught in that thin space between safety and chaos, between reason and instinct. And maybe that's why their story sticks with us, because deep down, we all know how easy it is to take the wrong turn and never find the way back. So, what do you think really happened that night? Was it panic, something darker, or just one of those moments where the universe reminds us how fragile we really are? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your theories. And if you enjoyed this one, maybe check out the video on the screen now. The Dyatlov Pass mystery. It's the story that started it all. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it means a lot to me. All right, my friends, be safe out there, trust your instincts, and maybe avoid those late night mountain drives. Until next time, stay curious.